Welcome. So here we are today in the church. Wanted to film the gospel meditation here near the altar where we celebrate and we think about the Eucharist and the priesthood. On this Holy Thursday, the night where we celebrate the Last Supper, where Jesus instituted the Eucharist and the priesthood, which gives us the Eucharist. One of the things that really strikes me about this night, where we celebrate the Eucharist and the priesthood, is that even more than the Eucharist and the priesthood, it's about God's love for the world. Throughout the world today, priests will be celebrating this Mass on their own. And in order to do that, we actually had to get special permission from Pope Francis. I think this tells us something about both the Eucharist and the priesthood, is that it's not a gift for few, but a gift for the world. That the normal way that we celebrate the Last Supper on Holy Thursday is to be with the people of God. And so the gift that God gives to us in the Eucharist and the priesthood, these are both gifts for the whole world. So it's not just, I'm not a priest for myself, but I'm a priest for others. So as we think about the priesthood today, some of the reflections that I have is, like we see that in the gospel that Jesus washes the feet of his disciples. And he says, you must do likewise. You must serve the people. Because both the Eucharist and the priesthood are to help the world know God's love and to invite us into that communion with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. For me, in celebrating the Last Supper, one of the things that I like to do is read through all of those chapters in the Gospel of John that relate to the Last Supper, because Jesus is really sharing his heart, he's sharing his hopes and his dreams for what he hopes to accomplish, what this is all about, this work of salvation. So throughout that Last Supper meal, we hear Jesus gives that new commandment, the commandment to love one another as he has loved us. He tells us that he is the way, the truth, and the life, that God is preparing a place for us in heaven. He promises the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, that is to dwell within us, guide us, to be our advocate. Gives us the image of the vine and the branches and encourages us to abide, to really live in that love that Jesus has, that God has for the world. It talks about we see in chapter 17, that prayer for unity, that we all may be one in him, one with the Father, one in God. So just that beautiful prayer of unity, so that Jesus, he came to reconcile all of humanity back to the Father, and that he prays that we would all be one with him. So the Eucharist and the priesthood are these ways that we're able to be one with God. Another beautiful thing that strikes me as I read through the Gospels is just how much Jesus focuses on the Father. That the Father is glorified. There's a dialogue between Jesus and Philip where Jesus says, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. And so this work of salvation, this work of redemption, is to bring all of humanity into Christ, to be one with Christ, so that as we are one with Jesus, we can be one with the Father. So it's a very beautiful thing that God has done on this Last Supper, in giving himself in the Eucharist to fill us with his love, fill us with his word, so that we could be like God, that we could be friends with God, and to live in him, one for all eternity. For myself, and reflecting on the priesthood, just see it as a tremendous gift. I remember reading John Paul II's reflection after 50 years of being ordained a priest, in the book that he calls Gift and Mystery. The thing that really struck me about his book was like every page he's mentioning how the people in his life helped to enrich and encourage him, to help him to become the priest and the bishop and the pope that he was able to become. And for me, that was just very awe-striking, because it's like, yeah, so much of who I am, who I've become, the priest that I am, is impacted by the people that I serve. So there's just this beauty and the richness of God's plan of salvation, where we need each other. So the people, you help me to be a better priest. You help me to better lead you to God. Another thing in reflecting on the priesthood is just that, like, it is a call, because we hear, Jesus tell the apostles, "It was not you who chose me, but I who chose you and appointed you to go to the nations." So for me, it's like, that was one of the struggles that I had, was like, and that feeling, that call to be a priest. It's like, no, I'm not worthy. I can't do that. I can't be a priest. But it's like, no, God has called me to serve others. He promises to be with me. And that's just another reflection, or maybe another time to go deeper into. But when we look at Moses and Jeremiah, a couple of other prophets, where we hear the story of how God called them, like, their first response is often like Jeremiah says, "I am too young." Moses says, like, I cannot speak well. How could I be a leader of the people? And in every one of those instances, God says, "I will be with you." So for me, I'm not a priest on my own. I'm not a priest for my own sake, but I'm a priest that strives to serve others, as Jesus asked me to do. And I trust that God is with me, guiding me. And just another beautiful reality that we see on this Holy Thursday night is that, as it is my job to serve others, to help them know Jesus, like, that really means that I have to know the heart and the mind of Jesus. Like, what is he doing? How is he working in our times? Like, what is he calling us to do? So that's why it's important to, as a priest, to pray, and as people, it's important to pray for your priests, that we would always seek to know the mind and the heart of Jesus. So those are just a few of the meditations that I have on this Holy Thursday, with the gospel that we have on the priesthood and the Eucharist. Just that it's this beautiful gift that allows us to be reconciled to God, one with him, united to God for all eternity. And so it's not so much about the priest, or the priest being called to holiness, but it's like, yes, we are called to holiness so that we can bring you to Jesus, so that you can be one with Jesus, and then knowing Jesus, know the Father's love for you, so that you can be one who lives in God for all eternity, knowing the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, enjoying the communion of all the saints in heaven. So I hope you have a blessed evening, and that this is beneficial for you. So thank you.